Well, WATE in Knoxville has released a short list of potential head football coaching candidates for the Tennessee Volunteers. And I'm going to go down the list here with you. Hi, everybody. I'm Marky Billson. And, a list like this generally is, the TV men, the reporters, the sports staff coming together. Well, who do you think would be a good who's realistic? And who isn't, which is their final choice. But let's go down the list here. Number one, Kevin Steele. He's the interim head coach. I still want to know what he's going to be paid as the interim head coach, because he was going to make, to be a defensive assistant, $425,000 a year, while Jim Chaney, to be the offensive coordinator, was going to make, wasn't he signed for a $1.6 million a year contract? Now, whether or not Chaney stays on as the offensive coordinator is yet to be seen. However, this needs to be stated. How in the world can you pay the offensive coordinator more than the head coach, even on an interim basis? That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And, if you heard the press conference, when they asked about did Kevin Steele know about what was going on, very evasive, but it was like, well, he knew that we were being looked at. Who didn't? You had to live out of the country or not follow college football to not know that Tennessee was being investigated. So he came back to, his alma mater and all that, but we'll see what his future is, if he has a future. That's the thing to wonder here. Still, you're firing Jeremy Pruitt, your new head coach. We're going through this revolving door of Tennessee head football coaches, and the one they're going to bring in on a permanent basis went 9-36 a generation ago at Baylor. Boy, I know the Vols program is down, but we are talking about being, the Vanderbilt down now. We're talking about being, who's the Kansas down now. That's down. Tom Herman deposed of Texas. You could do worse. He really didn't do that badly at Texas. But if you couldn't win with all the advantages at Texas on the level that they wanted there, I could see him going 8-4, but don't think Tom Herman is going to bring you riches every year against Florida and Georgia and Alabama. Then again, I'm not sure that any coach this side of Zeus is going to be able. Yes, he's going to come down from Mount Olympus to Knoxville. There you go. That's my solution for the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm not sure that anybody is going to beat those teams on a consistent basis at Tennessee. Certainly not on a consistent basis, but it's what about every once in a while? That sort of thing. Interesting thing, though, with Herman, he came from Houston, went to Texas. You think about the campus culture at Texas and Tennessee, and that is really different. So, you're going to have to fit into a whole different, it's a liberal campus and a conservative campus. I wonder how we'll make that transition. And that's not anything to really sneeze at. Talked about Bill O'Brien. I think it's all well known that Bill O'Brien would really, really prefer to be in the NFL. But he's now the offensive coordinator at Alabama. And I can see this. Yeah, let's take Nick Saban's offensive coordinator away from him. Well, it's better than taking the defensive coordinator away from him, as we learned with Jeremy Pruitt. But there is a little bit of, we tried this before, Unlike Pruitt, O'Brien does have head coaching experience. O'Brien also has head coaching experience at Penn State, when he coached them for 2 years, went 15-9 when they were on some serious probation. And Tennessee may be sailing that boat, so to speak, very shortly. So, that could be a good fit. The thing is, if O'Brien has success in Knoxville, he is going to be looking to take the first train out of town to one of the 36 locations, or not 36, but 31 NFL. I guess it's 30 now with Los Angeles having 2 teams, but 30 NFL destinations. O'Brien wants to be in the pros. Let's face that fact right away. And but he, I'll tell you what, if he can go 15-9 at Tennessee, next 2 years, that's more than I think anybody else can do. And he did do it at Penn State, so remember that. Doug Marrone, no. Again, I said, how far has Tennessee fallen if they hire Kevin Steele? Well, he's a Vol for life. He's a VFL. Who cares? I mean, right. And so you're hiring losing coach from Baylor a generation ago to more contemporary losing coach from Jacksonville. I don't know, Vols fans. Do you really want the coach that cut Josh Dobbs? Is that who you want? 1-15 last year. I mean, no. Jamie Chadwell is a guy that I think might have Tennessee on his radar, and the Vols could do far worse. Jamie Chadwell used to be a backup quarterback at East Tennessee State. I remember when he was projected to be the starter, and he got hurt before it was the 97 season, if memory serves, and Todd Wells came in, and he became the all-time leader in the Southern Conference in total offense. It's since been broken. Interesting note of Todd Wells is that he replaced a quarterback named Hines Ward in high school. Okay, that's my ETSU stuff. But Jimmy Chadwell was the backup at ETSU when Todd Wells was there, got an occasional start, and went on into college coaching and such. Did a nice job at Coastal Carolina, taking them from the FCS to the top 25 of FBS is not necessarily that easy, but he did it. Coastal's got a nice athletic program. Of course, it's not in the SEC. And since Chadwell has those East Tennessee ties, Tennessee might be very appealing to him, even if they're going to be on probation. Look, you're talking about Coastal Carolina's coach. Like I said, that is a big step. That is, oh, wow, the SEC. This might be the only chance I get to go to the SEC. You could do far worse than Jamie Chadwell. I'm kind of curious to see how that would work. And I think that he's got to be considered a serious choice for the job. Billy Napier. He's born in Cookeville, Tennessee, okay? Napier had stints, I'm reading directly from the Channel 6 website here. Napier has stints as an assistant under Alabama coach Nick Saban and Clemson coach Dabo Swinney. Not bad. As coach of Louisiana, Napier led the Raging Cajuns to a 10-1 record this past season. His overall coaching record is 28-11 in 3 seasons at Louisiana. Still, though, there is a little bit of, another Derek Dooley maybe, but Napier has won more than Dooley did at Louisiana Tech. You could do worse. He's not a real sexy candidate, but you could do worse. Then they go to Bob Stoops, please. No, it's not going to happen. One thing that I would suggest to look at, however, Tony Elliott, offensive coordinator at Clemson. There are no black head coaches in the SEC. And I got to tell you something. The day that Vanderbilt hired James Franklin is the day they started trading punches with Tennessee. You start thinking reasons to come to Tennessee other than other schools and all that. If you can get that coach that can relate to the African-American football player, and there's no reason that a person of any race can't relate to an African-American football player. I'm not saying, obviously. But that might be a statement. And you could do far worse than Tony Elliott, offensive coordinator at Clemson. I'd give him a call. I think he's an up-and-coming coach. I think he could do some big things. And like I said, you put a coach like him at Tennessee, that might change things around sooner than I even think is possible in Knoxville. Folks, if you like this, hit the like button on YouTube. And until then, I'm Marky Billson.